Alex, welcome to South Africa. It's great to have you. We have Fasana in Darba, and you were an inspirational presence at the Shabbos Project last year as well. So thank you for coming out.
As was the rabbi. It's incredible what you did there. It was really, really special to be a part of it and to be a part of this.
Okay, fantastic. You know, what I really wanted to talk to you about is the idea of music as a way of serving God. Mm-hmm. And you know, what fascinates me is the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that says, Hafoch ba v'hafoch ba de kol haba. Turn it over and over. Everything is in the Torah. And what I think is so interesting about you and your work and your life calling is how you have brought together the concept of music, your musical skills and background and talent, and combined that with a service of Hashem. And it's almost channeling it towards the service of Hashem. And you know, what is the Torah approach to music? You know, it's, how do you see it? I mean, it's a very broad-ranging kind of question, and I think that it's certainly, you know, what I've been finding interesting in a lot of these discussions with many of the Sinai and Darba personalities, that each one of them comes from a particular sphere of excellence, and then how in that sphere of excellence, whether it's, you know, in psychology or history or whatever it may be, particular field of human endeavor, and how their Torah inspires them to you know, to bring out the greatness in what they do, and a particular Torah approach to their field, because the Torah is the blueprint for creation, as the Midrash says that Hashem looked into the Torah and He created the world. Mm-hmm. So you know, there are many themes in this, but I wanted to explore with you, without necessarily a specific question, but really to explore with you music and Torah and what it means to you on a personal level, not just on a philosophical level.
So on a spiritual level, you know, it's really a huge chus to be able to connect to music, and it's an amazing thing. It really is an amazing thing. I mean, as long as people have been writing from David HaMelech and before, creating Tehillim, Shira by the Yamsuf, it's been such a core avoda for Yidden music to be able to sing.
Yes.
You know, to have that level of worship and that idea of worship just through the voice box.
Yes.
Just to articulate a feeling, not just through the words, which have a huge level of kedusha, but also through melody.
Yes.
You know, it's a melody comes from a very deep part. I mean, as a songwriter, when you start creating a piece of music, you don't know where it comes from. It's not an intellectual thing. The lyrics can be intellectualized. I mean, there's the famous Rashi on the David Mizmor or David that explains that there was two ways that David HaMelech would write Tehillim. One was when the melody would come first, and then the Shekhinah would come, or alternatively, the Shekhinah would come through the words, and then the melody would come. It comes two ways, and it's almost inexplicable when a melody appears. It just comes almost out of nowhere, and it's really an incredible experience. You know, I mean, personally, the connection that you know, if you buy Yom Kippur davening or Rosh Hashanah davening, there's certain nigunim and certain liturgical poems and songs that just create such powerful emotions and set you up. I mean, Friday night davening, a good lechadoidi, just can carry you to a whole other place, you know, and get to lose that sense of yourself and become a part of a klal when everyone's seeing this beautiful zemer. It's a very, very powerful experience. And a big schus as a songwriter in the secular world, and more recently in the Jewish world, to create words and songs with a Torah approach.
The thing that I was interested to explore with you is this notion of, is there a Torah approach to a melody? In other words, is melody like something which is universal? And while you're thinking about it, because it's quite a deep you know, area to explore, is, you know, I was thinking as you were talking about the fact that music is a very much part of the service of Hashem. Mm-hmm. We see with the Leviim and the Beis HaMikdash. Absolutely. And the Gemara in fact says that, you know, that the shira, the singing of the choir of the Leviim, had to accompany the korbanos, the sacrifices. Yeah. So it's and even in our shuls today, through choirs, through people singing, and you know, these nigunim, these melodies are very ancient. And so this notion, is there something specific about a Torah melody, or is there melody which is then infused with the values of Torah? How do you understand that?
Such a deep question. Wow, such an incredibly deep question. I mean, we've lost the nigunim from the Beis HaMikdash. There are some people who say that areas of the Rosh Hashanah Nusach actually come from the times of the Leviim and the Beis HaMikdash. but we don't necessarily know what they are specifically. Some people have theories.
Yes. But I mean, would you agree with this? I was thinking that maybe the notion is part of everything that we do in the service of Hashem is we dedicate it to God. So maybe there isn't something specific within a melody that can say this is a Torah melody or this isn't.
Sure.
But what is that music which is dedicated to the service of God, to the upliftment of the spirit, to even to the upliftment of people, for the sake of mitzvah, l'shem shemaim, for the sake of Hashem, then that infuses the melody with a kedusha, with a sanctity.
Sure.
And so it's not in the physical structure of the melody and the musical notes, but it is in the kavanah, the intention with which 100%. It's done.
I think Rabbi Nachman of Breslov talks about the idea of the seichel sheb'chol davar, that there's incredible wisdom in every single detail of the universe, and to understand that if you have a gift or an ability or an affinity for something, that's God-given ultimately, and that is really your koichos, that's the special gift that you have as an individual to connect to God. Now it just so happens that most people connect to music. It's such a powerful thing, and to be able to take music and elevate it. You hear stories of the Hasidic Rebbes who would be kaina, they would acquire nigunim from not so kosher sources. They would hear someone singing a nigun and they would understand that it had such a huge level of holiness to it. I don't know what the makor is. I don't know the source for that at all. What I do know is that in the Hasidic forum, in the Hasidic books, they talk about the source of where melodies come from in terms of serving God. And some come from an extremely holy side, and some come from obviously the other side, which can be very negative. But ultimately, it's I think, especially in the Hasidic forum, in the Hasidic books, it tends to talk more about how you can take something from what might be construed as a negative source and turn it into something incredibly holy.
Yes.
It was with Hasidic Nagunim, Hasidic melodies in particular, they'll often find the source in a Russian drinking song.
Yes.
Which is the most base level thing you could possibly think of, and to turn that into a Lechadodi or into a Kedusha. So, it's
and I think
amazing.
Isn't that obviously the challenge of life itself? Is there's so much going on in life and so many different facets of what it means to be a human being, and then to dedicate all of that, l'shem shemaim, like that chapter in Shulchan Aruch. There's actually a chapter in Shulchan Aruch that says, "Shiyu kol kavanos of l'shem shemaim." That all of a person's intentions should be for the sake of heaven, to eat, to have the energy to serve God, to sleep, etc. So all of those things can be used, negatively or positively or even neutrally, but they can become mitzvahs themselves. And so it would be, in the space of music. And I was thinking that in a certain sense, you're moving between these two worlds all the time.
Sure.
The world, of entertainment and rock music, and then the world of, of Torah. And how do you chart that path? Is it?
It's tricky.
It's tricky.
It doesn't matter if you're a musician or a bank accountant or a lawyer. It doesn't matter. They will always have challenges between, what would seem as the secular and mundane elements of life and the holy,
yes,
and profane.
I think that's a good point you make, that everyone has that challenge in one way or another.
Always have that challenge, for sure. The trick is to understand that it's your job as a Jew to really take that mundane and turn it into something holy, by the way you behave, the way you act, the way you focus when you work.
Yes.
And to understand that everything you do, even something completely mundane, is essentially something very holy.
Yes.
The idea of, tzedakah, taking a little portion of your living and your livelihood, and to it elevates the rest of the, whatever you earn gets elevated just by the act of giving some tzedakah. Turn something mundane and essential to what we seen as the secular pursuits into something incredibly holy. Yes,
and I think that kind of brings us back to the Mishnah that we started our discussion with, the hafochba v'afochba. Turn it over and over, everything's there. And music's such an important part of what it means to be a human being. It's a quintessential human pursuit as opposed to, to animals. And to dedicate that to something which is lofty in service of God and inspiration. I mean, the world is crying out for inspiration today, and music is a very powerful way to give it.
It's been the main line for inspiration for a very long time. Humans have always connected to it, and it creates all sorts of feelings. And
yes,
it's really big success.
All right, great. Well, thank you for your time. It's been wonderful to chat to you, and continued success in everything that you do.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good.